Today we're back in Mark chapter 8. Now, unlike the historical books that often will have a whole chapter that might have one heading because it covers a long description of an account that happened, the Gospels, the writers often, in the way that the chapters were divided, and again, these chapters didn't happen until the 1200s, but the way these chapters have been divided, there's multiple little short accounts of different events that happened or sayings of Jesus. So a chapter like this will have lots of headers that I've been reading the last few weeks. So I'll read off many of these as I go through this chapter. The gospel chapters aren't usually one very long narrative because of the nature of the writing of them. So chapter 8, the first 10 verses cover the heading on the Christian Standard Bible is the feeding of the 4,000. In those days there was again a large crowd, and they had nothing to eat. He called the disciples and said to them, I have compassion on the crowd because they've already stayed with me 3 days and have nothing to eat. If I send them home hungry, they will collapse on the way, and some of them have come a long distance. His disciples answered him, Where can anyone get enough bread in this desolate place to feed these people? How many loaves do you have? He asked them. 7, they said. He commanded the crowd to sit down on the ground. Taking the 7 loaves, he gave thanks, broke them, and gave them to his disciples to set before the people. So they served them to the crowd. They also had a few small fish, and after he had blessed them, he said these were to be served as well. They ate and were satisfied. Then they collected 7 large baskets of leftover pieces, and about 4,000 were there. He dismissed them, and he immediately got into the boat with his disciples and went to the district of Dalmanutha. It's interesting that his disciples asked, where can we get enough bread to feed these people? When the feeding of the 5,000 had happened previously, and it couldn't have happened all that long ago, even if it was, and I don't think this is the case, but even say in Jesus' 3-year ministry, if they were 2 years apart, it would be an event you would think would stick in your head. But I don't want to blame them because I probably would do much the same. Verses 11 through 21, the header is the leaven of the Pharisees and Herod. The Pharisees came and began to argue with him, demanding of him a sign from heaven to test him. Sighing deeply in his spirit, he said, Why does this generation demand a sign? Truly, I tell you, no sign will be given to this generation. Then he left them, got back into the boat, and went to the other side. The disciples had forgotten to take bread, and had only 1 loaf with them in the boat. And he gave them strict orders, Watch out, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of Herod. They were discussing among themselves that they did not have any bread. Aware of this, he said to them, Why are you discussing the fact that you have no bread? Don't you understand or comprehend? Do you have hardened hearts? Do you have eyes and not see? Do you have ears and not hear? And do you not remember? When I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many baskets full of leftovers did you collect? 12, they told him. When I broke the 7 loaves for the 4,000, how many baskets full of pieces did you collect? 7, they said. And he said to them, Don't you understand? Verses 22 through 30 cover the healing of a blind man. They came to Bethsaida. They brought a blind man to him and begged him to touch him. He took the blind man by the hand and brought him out of the village. Spitting on his eyes and laying his hands on him, he asked him, Do you see anything? He looked up and said, I see people, and they look like trees walking. Again, Jesus placed his hands on the man's eyes. The man looked intently, and his sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. Then he sent him home, saying, Don't even go into the village. Oh, I'm sorry, that only covered through verse 26. Verses 27 through 30 are Peter's confession of the Messiah. Jesus went out with his disciples to the villages of Caesarea Philippi, however you say that word. And on the road he asked his disciples, Who do people say that I am? They answered him, John the Baptist, others Elijah, still others one of the prophets. But you, he asked them, Who do you say that I am? Peter answered him, You are the Messiah. And he strictly warned them to tell no one about him. A much shorter version of this compared to Matthew's description of it. Verses 31 through 33, his death and resurrection predicted. Then he began to teach them that it was necessary for the Son of Man to suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, chief priests, and scribes. be killed and rise after 3 days. He spoke openly about this. Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But turning around and looking at his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan. You are not thinking about God's concerns, but human concerns. And the end of the chapter, verses 34 through 38, take up your cross. Calling the crowd along with his disciples, he said to them, if anyone wants to follow after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life because of me and the gospel will save it. For what does it benefit someone to gain the whole world and yet lose his life? What can anyone give in exchange for his life? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will also be ashamed of when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels." And that, my friends, is Mark chapter 8. Thank you for watching or listening, whatever you do. Thank you for subscribing, those of you who subscribe. Hope you have a wonderful day and hope to see you tomorrow as we continue year 2 of our 3-year journey through the Bible.